Welcome, everybody. Alexander Mazzone here with Krys from Cosmic Frequency. So happy to be here with you today, brother.
Yeah, this is going to be amazing for all of you who have been curious about this whole Terrence Howard thing. I'm really excited to dive in.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing a reacts video to the Terrence Howard Joe Rogan podcast. I hear a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people are contacting me. I'm hearing a lot of the words come through them. What's your experience been with this so far?
So far, much of the same. People just aren't thinking for themselves, which is a dangerous thing. Whenever you don't think for yourself, you're susceptible to follow anyone blindly. Sometimes that can work out for you, and other times it doesn't. And I think this is one of those situations where I've seen a lot of people that I care about falling into this blind obedience, as if every single word that Terrence is sharing is absolute fact, and it's not.
That's right where I am. That's right where I am. So yeah, I'm very much so into the metaphysical multidimensionality. And that's how a lot of these shapes and things came through. That's where like spirit was really like having it ring up for me. So yeah, I want to do what I can from my understanding to show people the science, plain and simple, these metaphysical quantum sciences. So let's get right on into it, start playing it, and like we can just like jump around where we need. We're not going to go through the whole 3 hours, I'm sure.
You guys also have to understand that our intention today, you can play it, is just to bring clarity. You know, part of what we do is we're here to make sure that humans have a choice. If you're watching this podcast with Terrence Howard and Joe Rogan, and you just blindly jumped into it without a question, that is a huge red flag.
Yes,
that means your thinking centers aren't thinking. You're just blindly accepting things. So you have to be able to see things from multiple layers of reality, and that's kind of what we want to do today, is provide clarity from a metaphysical, scientific, spiritual, even an ethical point of view. So
just being open to the fact that they could be closing themselves off to infinite possibility by saying like this is the way, that doesn't leave room for like searching for more. It doesn't leave room for truth to come through.
Exactly.
So we'll get right on into it. Let's just start playing it.
Let's get it. I know, same.
I'm already pausing it.
I know.
Like, how does that feel for you in your body? Like I tune in on my heart. I tune in on my stomach when somebody's speaking the truth to me.
Yep.
That just like I feel my cell structure closing off.
Same.
So I'm sorry to pause it already, but just like, looking at his eyes and like hearing what he's saying, like I just want to make sure that people are like, feeling like what is the frequency? I mean, you call your channel Cosmic Frequency. Like, what is the frequency that I'm feeling right now, and why? Like, being inquisitive to the feeling.
So this is so funny because my whole body right now is like it's restricting. So here's the thing: people think that the light is the truth. Light can be deceiving.
Yes.
Light can be deceiving. It can be great, but it's the frequency, and it's the sound, and it's the tonal structure of words that are spoken that either resonate and ring true, or they don't. But if people are so outside of themselves, they can't feel their cells, right? So they can't feel. Whenever I just that first sentence, the first thing that came to me was narrative displacement. This is a big thing. What he's saying on one level can be authentic, but I don't know if he's actually had this experience, or if he's acting and taking information from people who do have this level of sensitivity to spirit and just using it to capture a wider audience. To me, that's what it says. It's saying, I'm going to say things that sound good, that the majority of the spiritual community will resonate with, so that I can get their attention. And there's
and maybe it was something that came in later in life from participating in certain medicines or something like that. And it was like he had that memory of having the memory. Like I could see something like that, but to say the first memory I remember and say it in this way, I feel deceiving of the people. And it's like, does that bring expansion for other people? I feel a lot of people might hear that and and feel less than or look up to this person like a god when they're saying something like that. You ready to get back into it?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of pauses. So we'll just
I know we read it a minute
in front of you. And you're like, oh, that's my friend. But I had a different name for it. I didn't know it was my hand.
Oh my God.
I knew
Please stop.
I had a
Please stop.
title for it. Go back.
Yeah. This is already blowing my mind. So people know I stayed away from watching this interview because it was so popular. And whenever the masses are doing something, I usually go the other way.
Yeah.
But this is what I mean about narrative displacement. So people have to understand how deep these surveillance programs have gone into our lives. Now, there's some highly conscious people on this planet. The dominant frequency of the planet is what 3-letter agencies are going to use to try to control the masses. So that can be a food diet. It could be a gender thing. It could be a spiritual thing. So what he just said about his hand, I've been saying this for years.
Yep.
It was whenever I was 5 years old, I remember looking at my hands like, this is not my hand. This is not my hand. So my thought is Terrance authentic? Did he actually have this experience? Or again, are these 3-letter agencies tapped into people like you, like myself and others, taking their experiences and then regurgitating them to now disclose their agenda? So that's what came up for me, is like, he's saying the same thing that I had, the same experience, which is, we go different directions.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're gonna get to points that anybody that's been watching my channel and watching me for a long time we'll actually get to, like something he talks about later. I don't know. I have certain bullet points written down. I didn't watch the whole thing, but Spirit did want me to like float around through it, because it was like every time I opened up Instagram or TikTok or this thing or that, it was like I was getting bombarded with clips of it. So I was like feeling it out and watching the clips first. And like, there was like, this part's actually good. And then there was like, oh God, this feels really bad. And that's really the main reason we're here. So like, part of it is actually, we'll get to it, is my awakening, like my awakening of when I went from being a good term used in quotations, a Catholic boy that was going to church on like every other Christmas Eve, to kind of like seeing in that awakening space, like, okay, wait a minute, I think like Buddhism has the highest percentage, but they don't have a large percentage at all of the truth. Like nobody does. Like everybody's got a piece of it, though. It doesn't matter what religion, what dogma, what branch of metaphysics, but it's the way he speaks like it's law. Exactly. That's where my issue was. So we'll get right into it. He's going to be talking about this baby stuff for a little bit. It's okay. It's a ride, man. Parts of it are rough. I'm gonna be honest.
All right, let's go.
All of those that had just gotten out of prison.
See, this is typical
manslaughter.
Right here. This whole
I didn't have much.
This whole pity me narrative.
Yep. It's like all the people that are going to make it on American Idol. Like, it's like the music kicks on.
That's what I'm saying. And people have to understand this man is an actor. He gets paid to act, to put on a show. Something that's so fundamental on the true path of self-realization is the ability to understand your own programming. Most humans don't understand how their brain or their emotions even work. And so that lack of knowledge gets used against them. Yep. So people may have an emotional reaction to something that's a complete lie, because they're not aware that their brain is getting triggered into that through a story. You see? And that's what I see. I see, first, how can I cater? Look, we're not dealing with, this is a spiritual warfare right now.
Yes.
The nuances and the levels and the dollar amount that's gone into keeping humanity suppressed is astronomical. At this point in time, they're going to use people like Terrance, unfortunately, whether he knows it or not, I'm not sure, to gather as much attention as possible so humans stay under the control of the thumb of on-world and off-world powers that want to be. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing it. I don't feel this energy of like, whoa, wow, you had that. I feel this. He's using this. They probably just looked up some people's stories on Instagram and
you using absolutely. And you know, I didn't want to pause it again already.
I know.
Like the whole part about like your words, like people could be instilling those words into their own belief structures, and like talking about the baby, like accidentally wrapping an umbilical cord around its own head. That's why I was going to pause and say exactly what you just said. So you got it at the part, like maybe that other part like fed into that in your head, but like you got it at the part right after. You were like, yo, you got to pause it. Yeah. And I was like, I was already about to pause it because I'm like, you see that right there? He's planting a seed. Like somebody might be planting a seed where, because it's like, it's almost like I put the light on my wife's belly, but I took a chance. And if you do it, you might kill your child. Like what? People having the opportunity to manifest that or even exist in that fear for 6 months, 9 months, 7 months, however long, like that's like God has a bigger and better plan than somebody, doing some work that they're like, this feels good. I'm going to put crystals. I'm going to put lights. I'm going to do this for my baby. I'm going to put headphones on, play some classical music. Right. God has a bigger plan than the baby's going to accidentally wrap an umbilical cord. So that's like, to me, that's like a planted seed.
Also, real quick on the umbilical cord, babies don't breathe. The baby can come out of the womb with the umbilical cord totally fine.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know, so even so little, we had a home birth here, so we learned this from experience. Yeah. There is again another level of unintegrated experience. Yep. Most people are not taught the true process of one birth, but also when the cord wraps around the neck, that's no concern because the baby's not breathing yet, right? All the food and all the oxygen go through.
It's coming through the tube.
You know what I mean? So just little things like that.
Good catch, man. I didn't even think about that, and I did hear that before.
Yeah. So just little things like that, and it's people have to really start to step out to see, you know. So go ahead, keep playing. I know.
But I sit and I had access to all the knowledge. The proof of it is the 97 patents that I have now. Proof of it is the industries that I've innovated.
That part.
It's like waking.
That part. Yeah. Thank you, man. That's where I got most passionate. You know, a lot of the devices I've created, this is not a pitch for my devices, so I'm going to just keep that really short, but like certain things that I've created through spirit showing me them, spirit showing me how electromagnetism worked in devices in days of old, in the past, present, and future. And you know, it's not our right to patent certain things. Like if he comes up with an invention on how to like affordably keep the walls heated to keep the house warm, of course, like go for yours, get yours. But like if something's connected to a multi-dimensional shape, if something's connected to past civilizations that all of humanity needs, I've done everything I can, and I've done this over and over again with many of my devices. I've created what's known as public domain. So like, God forbid something happens to me, the government doesn't own my tech that's not mine to own.
Exactly.
Spirit delivers certain accurate informations to certain people that aren't going to patent it. So to me, the whole patenting as a whole of some of these shapes, which I mean, I can show you like areas where I've seen these things come through as the empty space, like when he gets into all that. But it's just like the patenting as a whole. Like you got to ask yourself, like if what you're doing is to help humanity, and if these shapes are to help humanity, assist humanity, and they actually, you know, technically shouldn't even be able to, like something like a platonic solid can't even be used in a dark manner in my eyes. Like if you put a patent on something like this, that's a variant of it or something like that, like what is the worst case scenario here? So the worst case scenario is somebody starts to use it and they're making money off of it or whatnot. And it's like, would you ever want to spend even 1 minute of our like precious lives in court trying to sue somebody that obviously if they're working with those shapes and those technologies, they're here to assist humanity. Like, we're here to assist humanity with these devices, these shapes, these fields, these sigils, these symbols, whatever you call them. So like, to put a patent on it, and even like, that means that you're considering spending time in court to stop somebody from utilizing something that's not ours to patent. Plain and simple.
It is that simple. The truth cannot be captured. It can't be patented. If it's true, if it's something that you really got from the ethers, from the source, from the field of pure potential, that idea was not your original. It wasn't yours. It doesn't belong to you. It is
collective consciousness.
It is the collectives. It is the sources, right?
Yep.
And so whenever I hear someone say, I patent this or that, you know, like you said, if it's, I don't know, how to fix a really cool car, I don't know, good. But when it comes to progressive, innovative, highly advanced technologies, it doesn't make sense. And that's a huge red flag. And something else I want to share about the shapes, because I know we're going to get into that. He's talking about these shapes that he was shown and everything. First, there's science that I know he hasn't discovered yet. It's more of a regurgitation, and it's actually a subtraction from what I would say different forms of ether physics, which is what I teach through cosmic frequency. And through ether physics, we teach and we show that a thought that you have, every single thought that you have, is going to have its own specific shape. It's going to have its own frequency field, right? And now, if he's being shown these very specific shapes that aren't the platonic solids, there is a chance that he's just seeing thought fields. But I think he does talk later about how he doesn't even utilize the platonic solids, which are, in my mind, the preliminaries of a thought manifesting. You know, there's science in here that he shares. It's just not accurate. But I know we're going to show that a little bit later.
I have so much to share on that. I'm not even going to start to scratch the surface. But something you were saying earlier kind of like flashed through my head, because is it Russell Wilson? He's going to be referring to the scientist.
Walter Russell.
Walter Russell. Thank you. Yeah, there's so many names in my head right now. Walter Russell was known as what's an autodidact. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but an autodidact is a person who is self-taught. Exactly. He got all that himself. Like that's how I have had my information come through. Spirit has always not wanted me to muddy the waters too much with anybody's stuff.
Yes.
Like, if I feel called, if I feel drawn, I respond to my cells, for what we were talking about earlier. Because, I mean, we've never had that conversation, but I imagine that that's the way, you know, just the way we met and like what's going on here. Do you feel like that's similar for you as well, this autodidact?
That's why I call myself a noeticist for that exact reason, because 99.9% of my information, knowledge, and wisdom comes from sitting in meditation and observing reality, right? But once people understand that that's a possibility and that they are in an ocean of frequency, they'll understand how it's possible to do that.
Yes.
But, you know, the stuff I do read is usually a confirmation of what I've discerned or discovered within my own mind already, within my own heart. So this is why I think we want to bring this point up about being an autodidact and a noeticist, is because that's when you know it's pure.
Yep.
That's when you've cleared out all your stuff, and now you're one with the source, with the force, as Yoda says, right?
Yes.
And all the information's there.
Yes.
And it sounds like Terrence is regurgitating a lot of different things, you know. So I agree.
And fear of, like, somebody comes up with an invention, and it's like, if somebody's now they're waiting, they're scared, they know they can't release it. It's very expensive. When I did do the slight amount of research before Spirit was like, you can't do this, and in the form of like somebody coming through and very wise old man out in South Carolina stopped me, and he was like, you know, he said what I said to you guys about like, would you even want to spend 1 minute in court? But it's like, it was the frequency of me feeling like I had to protect it. Someone's going to steal it. Right. When the fact of the matter is, at that point, the technology had already existed for so long, it was already public domain. Exactly. If something exists for long enough, it actually technically cannot be patented.
Yeah.
So to go back to this modality of patenting again, like, it's like, what if he does something beautiful and he makes something that, like, oh, it hovers, it moves around, and it uses very little or no fuels, using solar power or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But what if that limits somebody else in a space program from actually be able to make anti-gravity because it was patented? They couldn't use it, or like the money things like coming into blockage. That's all.
So that's exactly why this is important to pause it here, though, because first you're met with the baby story and that experience, and so now you are emotionally invested from the first 3 minutes of this podcast. You're emotionally invested now.
Yep.
Now he's going to throw in stuff about patenting, right? And plant that seed that if you have something valuable to the world, that you cannot go from a -1.
Yep.
When you start from a -1, you start from a reaching and a grabbing, which means you don't have it to begin with.
Yep.
When you start from a +1, you understand that you've discovered an eternal principle of reality. And when you discover eternal principles of reality, you know it's not yours. Luke says in one of the Star Wars movies, the Force does not belong to us. It doesn't belong to the Jedi. It is a principle that is discovered through the consciousnesses that interact with the source. And so whenever these 97 patents, what are you afraid of? If it's not, share it. Share it. You know, that's all we're saying.
Yeah, it's like,
what are you afraid of?
Exactly. What are you afraid of? Somebody will make some of the money. Right. Anytime anybody tried to copy my tech or my gear, which I've always been like, anytime somebody, honestly, it made me sad when, like, somebody would contact me and they'd be like, brother, I aligned the magnets. I used your technology. Is it okay? And I'm like, yeah, like, what do you mean? But anytime somebody did it and they were like, hey, here's how you do this, and they do this, and they were doing it online, like people with bigger followings than me and all this stuff. Think about the frequency of how it feels if somebody goes up to them and they're just like, hey, why are you copying Alexander's tech?
Wow.
Why are you living in somebody else's life purpose? That feels terrible, man. Like, oh, you're making orgone, but you're doing it just like so-and-so. Oh, hey, you're making anti-gravity, but you're doing it just like so-and-so. Like, why? Like, even just that question coming from the people, which is not something the patent can even protect you from. It is not a good feeling that makes our hearts sing, that keeps us in the vibratory rates to have more inventions come through that humanity needs.
Man, that's so powerful. That's so powerful. We need to move into this frequency of sharing. If it's authentically an expression of the source, it is meant to flow. That's what physics. That's what your technology is about. That's what my technology. It's meant to flow. So that's really powerful. I hope people really heard what Alexander just said right there.
Thank you, man. Let's get back into it. We're 5 minutes into
good, man. We got all day.
Having a dream that you have a diamond in your silicone, it will double up and would be 162 hertz. You'll go to.
I just paused it, man.
Yeah, go for it.
This is all very accurate. Like this stuff about the sound frequency and stuff like that. Some of us have been talking about this stuff for years.
Right.
It's like I've one of the things that's been coming through to me from spirit is like for us to know about the multidimensionality of the throat. And like one thing that we can think about that is the throat makes sound. The throat, I can picture the color of the throat chakra, baby blue, going through the 7 sound frequencies of the 7 chakras, do, re, mi, fa, so. So now it's like I could be picturing the color baby blue while I'm making the sound frequency of the throat chakra, and I'm doing that by utilizing and using the throat itself. Right. So like some of this is very accurate on how sound can be used, and I do agree with like this is factual from Walter Russell's work, and it is fascinating, and I think there are many applications to this. So I actually just wanted to say like I like this part. There's definitely some like things like mixed into it, but like this part is part of the metaphysical science or quantum science, whatever it really is, that I've gotten myself through all my research, because parts of this are actually fascinating with what is it? It's the terahertz waves. Like when you see sound frequencies, there's like, if you look at the whole band of sound frequencies, I don't know if you've seen this before, but like there's all these sound frequencies that the ear can hear. And then we get to this like little patch right here of terahertz. that cannot be heard. And then we get back into sound frequencies that can be heard again. So it's like things like that are fascinating, and they're very validating for me to Walter Russell's work, because like you can looking at how the way his periodic table of elements works, or the periodic table of elements works. It's like things that are solids, things that are solids, things that are gases. Right. And it's almost like the terahertz is like the gas of sound frequency, if I may, because it's like, why is this heard and this is heard, but we can't hear this? Like, to me, just that little like factoid in and of itself is fascinating. I don't know if you've done any research on that.
Yeah. So again, yes, cosmic frequency, and through the I keep going back to ether physics, but this is what I call it. And so yes, I think this portion of what I'm hearing right now, there's some truth to what he's saying.
Yes.
And yes, that truth is used to then bring forth a different agenda. But for just to give people a deeper understanding, there's only one element in all of creation.
Yep.
It's the ether. It's pure potential energy.
Yes.
At different rates of vibration, meaning different wavelengths.
Mm-hmm.
That one thing looks like and can be measured as hydrogen. It looks like and can be measured as cobalt or iron. But what happens is if we start with hydrogen and we move into iron, the more that you speed up hydrogen, it's going to become hydronized iron. It's going to be a hybrid, which is that terahertz that you don't hear, because now it's a hybrid of it's transitioning into something else. And so do you have steps of this one thing of hydrogen, let's just say, turning into iron or nickel or whatever it is, until it eventually becomes just all nickel or all iron, which looks like something completely different, but it's not. It's the one essence, the ether, resonating at different parts within itself.
Yes.
And those different parts within itself, to the human mind, look like separate things. So I'm going to take this a step further with Walter Russell and with Terrance, and say that when we look at the periodic table, we can't look at things as separate. We have to look at them as one mass of energy in different vibratory rates. Mm-hmm. Now that makes it easier to work with sound and frequency, because now if you know the rate of vibration of hydrogen, oxygen, whatever, all you need to do is play that tone. You get the color, you get the vibrational rate, and then you get the benefit and the effect.
Yes.
And so it makes life much easier when we look at it as a whole rather than separate boxes.
Yes.
So that's what I would say to it.
Absolutely. And what happens if you keep that iron under electromagnetic pressure, heat? I that's up to a geologist to explain their theory on why that happens. But the fact of the matter is, iron under pressure has been proven, because they find areas where there's like, there's like, here's the gemstone, here's the crystalline form, and here's the other form. Right. Iron, when heated, becomes things like garnet and ruby.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yes, precisely.
To the point, I have actually, like, I sent it to a couple. I sent it to these two geologists, because I ordered some, when I first started my company, I ordered some gemstones. And when the gemstones came, I held them up to the light, and they were hematite, which is an iron ore. And I looked through it, and it was red. Like they were red. So I went and found the guy. I ordered more. They came in. They were regular hematite.
Yep.
So I messaged him it was eBay. I messaged him. I'm like, no, I want the other ones that are red and clear. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, can you send me some pictures? And then I could feel his sadness in the message. He's like, well, if I knew they did that, I wouldn't have sent them to you. So I sent them to a geologist, because I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know what I had, because I had something that was like literally in between, is what they explained. So they sent them back to me. They were such a precious couple. They sent them back to me, and they said, this is more rare than ruby. Like, they're like, we're not sure if the earth cooled off or the pressure stopped, but you have something in between ruby and iron, where it looks like iron. I have these, man. If somebody's like, I don't believe that. I've got my dad has them in his safe, to be honest with you, because they told me that they were that rare. They were like, stop giving these to people. Wow. You stash these somewhere, and that doesn't mean I'm never gonna like put them out or give them out to anybody ever, like if I feel the calling. But
just this concept the fact that you have that
concept of this like the actual pressure and these crystalline forms, because that's what I was going to be getting into once he gets the platonic solids. That's those are my two biggest things I wanted to let people know about, was the platonic solids and the patents. Why we really felt called to do this today.
Yeah.
Should we jump to 20 minutes, or you want to keep on from here?
No, let's jump. I want to make sure we get to the points where you wanted to talk, because this is a 3-hour interview, you know.
Exactly. And then we have stuff to add to it. So
exactly. Yeah. So let's jump to it. And man, I love that you just said that. And that's really cool.
about those special hematite.
Yeah, because that verifies what I was just sharing as far as the periodic table not being separate. It's one thing that changes its structure, which really its frequency and harmonics that give it the illusion of being something else. This is amazing.
Yes. Yeah, and we just to let everybody know at home or wherever you're watching this from on Spaceship Gaia, like we had none of these conversations. like everything that's coming up right now is stuff that it's just coming up, and it's very validating for each other.
Yeah, this is real
together and didn't realize that at that point they reconvert.
We got to pause
into the electric field.
No worries. There's a very important part that's missing, and this is where I see a lot of scientists. They're not talking about consciousness and the effect of consciousness and the observer. They're talking very mechanical, as if God is something mechanical, and it's not. You know, you can't mechanicalize the source or the ether. You have to take into accountability the intelligence of the creative essence and the principle of reality. It's not this unconscious robotic thing that just moves, and it's not how it goes. Yes. So the theory of magnetism and gravity, magnetism, gravity are essentially the same. It is the flow. And this is something I shared with you. I think one of our first conversations we had, Alexander. I think I talked to you about gravity. And this is a point of clarity for me, is that gravity is a flow of consciousness of the ether, right? So your thoughts are gravitic. It is the source or the ether looking to find homeostasis or rest, right? So it's thought that planets have gravity, right? Or they create a gravity field, or the center of gravity, we say. Well, it's not true. A planet doesn't have gravity. It's actually constructed from gravity, from the flow of consciousness in the ether. It's like if you were to take a balloon and you were to blow into that balloon, what's going to happen? It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. That's gravity. Gravity is the flow of awareness, of focus, and concentration. That's what generates things. So gravity is not a force that's external to consciousness. So I have to interject Mr. Terrance and say, look, you got to incorporate the awareness point of the source. You know, we can't just make it this mechanical thing, because it doesn't get us anywhere. It turns it back. It actually diminishes the reality that we all exist in. It turns it into, it like separates us from consciousness.
Yeah. And it leaves room for certain people to start thinking in certain places, because, you know, I mean, to be honest with you, like I have a couple of beads on a string. Let me shrink this down so this gets bigger for a second. Like this is like, I actually show people how my stuff works. Like, so you see how the beads just hovering there?
Yeah.
Like, and now it fell. Like, it's not hovering there because the wire is holding it in place. That's a magnet, and that's a magnet, and that's a crystal. This crystal has no magnetic or ferromagnetic material properties whatsoever. But that wants to hover and float there because this magnet's grabbing it. But what I'm getting at is, so obviously that's north, that's south. But like, what if there are applications where we do have north facing north?
Yes.
And that's forcing something to spin. Or that's some application for anti-gravity, you know, like, or like, you know, having something float. Like I've seen miracles happen since I've been doing this work, because
I believe
that's what the whole science is spirit had me. Like, I didn't just make a bracelet that looked like a bracelet. I had to first go through the 2-step process of aligning all the magnets to make sure they were pulling towards each other. I thought this was strictly woo-woo. I thought it was strictly, I thought it was just like metaphysical in nature. I was like, oh, I get it. The electricity, the magnetism is going to connect the energy of all the gemstones. I had a strictly inner child view on this. I'll never forget the day I went into Salem, Massachusetts, because I'm from the East Coast.
Me too.
And I was like, oh, like right away, woo woo. I'm like, oh, the witches are gonna love these. Like, let me go show them. And I go in. There's this big biker dude, all black leather, big handlebar mustache, and he just looks at me. He's like, he looked at me very seriously. He goes, "You don't even know what you're doing." And I was like, well, you know, you gotta, like, when you're going to door with the product, you got to be ready to have that like sort of like feeling and interjection. And I was like, look, I'll just go. I was like, I just wanted to see. I just wanted you to feel it. It's all good. And he goes, no. He goes, you're explaining piezoelectricity. You're explaining scientific effect. He goes, not only do I feel what you're doing, but I know why. He was like, go home, research. Like, the first radio receivers didn't work without quartz. The first, like, there's a reason clocks say quartz on them. Which, what is a quartz? A quartz is something that's forming into the shape of a platonic solid. This is something that is, you know, like, just, that could be a whole dissertation in itself. I don't want to go too far into that. But what piezoelectricity means is if there's pressure pressing on a quartz, it amplifies and stabilizes electrical current, magnetism, things like that. So even though it's incredibly subtle, those magnets trying to grab towards each other is activating the quartz. This is science. And like, we've had doctors, scientists, everybody do research on what I've done. I've got a whole bunch of papers. If anybody was like, ever like, this doesn't work or whatnot, I got stuff in my back pocket, front pocket.
I know it.
And because what's happening is, like, I just showed you 3, but if you go around an entire circle, the current's going to kick itself in the butt. It's going to go faster and faster.
It's going to maximize.
We've proven this with microtesla readers. If you just get a pile of magnets and you put the microtesla reader on it, they're about 450 to 600 microtesla. If you put it with quartz crystal and get the current going, and this goes and kicks itself in the butt, it goes up to 5,000 microteslas. You get a scissor out, you cut up the bracelet, put the same beads in a pile, it's back down to 450. Like, we've proven this stuff. So it's like, how could I patent that and keep it pigeonholed as a bracelet, when, like, obviously, like, what if there's, like, I have a current going this way and then I have a current going that way, and like, we can do something to purify water or anti-gravity. I don't know.
Just the beginning, man. It really is.
Exactly. So it's like I wanted to just, like, share that from, like, what he's saying about magnetism and electromagnetism and electricity, because it's like, you know, just sit with it. What parts of it feel right? What parts of it don't feel right? And it's like, at the same time, when somebody says something, if you believe it, like, what is the benefit of that? Like, you know, as somebody that's into, like, the fitness industry, that's how I woke up, because I was doing so much purification of my body and drinking the right water, and the right water I was drinking didn't have fluoride in it. Like, so my third eye actually turned on. All this stuff happened because of me, like, being like the body got me in touch with the mind and the spirit. But what I'm getting at is this: whenever we do any sort of movement, any sort of lift, like, you got to ask yourself, does the benefit outweigh the risk? Like, does the benefit outweigh the risk? Like, you got to tell somebody, like, if somebody's really passionate about playing basketball, the benefit outweighs the risk. Like, that's where their passion is. But the fact of the matter is, like, people come down wrong. Like, you know, every once in a while, somebody bothers their ankle or something. And then, like, maybe that's affecting their other workouts and things like that. So as a trainer, I used to have to ask my male clients, like, does the benefit of this sport outweigh the risk for you? And if it does, we know that. So it's like, does the benefit of believing that the platonic solids or electricity or things are working for sure in these ways and taking it all as law, does the benefit outweigh the risk?
Right. And this is, and by the way, I will do a plug for Alexander's technology. This bracelet is really revolutionary for me, and it works. And I do understand why it works. And it works because of what I call source point, or gravitic thought. Basically the name of the game is, how can you get the ether to be focused and moving in the same direction? That's what it is. We do this through shape power. That's why spirals are so important. That's why I wear this, because the spiral does that kicking the butt thing that Alexander was talking about, where the original frequency is going to be maximized and amplified as it vortexes. Right. That's why nature of vortex is, because it amplifies the the ether. Now I have this crystal here. I've had this for years, and it's a Super 7. I think it has 7 different kinds of crystals in it. If you look at the shape, though, this is really cool. So this is it's a cone, right? And it points up here. Mm-hmm. I did not know this until about a week ago. I have these 2 really powerful magnets. These are really powerful. I don't know what the milligausses are, but they're pretty heavy duty.
Yeah.
And knowing about ether physics in this way, when you go like this is magnetic. You can feel it.
Yep.
You can actually, I did not know that. There's no metal in here whatsoever. It's just a crystal. But the way that it's shaped and the fact that it's quartz, it generates a magnetic field. It generates ether torsion is what I'll call it. So that's just something that I wanted to share. And the other point is, we don't need to make things so complicated. I think a lot of reasons that people are so obsessed with the stuff that's being talked about in Terrence Howard's interviews, because it sounds very intricate and very, very smart and very intelligent. I'm sure he's very intelligent, but at the same time, can you apply it? Can you actually take that information that he shared and do something with it? Or does it just in that moment sound good to you? Mm-hmm. Right? Like Alexander said, can you take it and can you make it something applicable to your everyday life? So just because it sounds great doesn't mean that it has any kind of weight behind it. So that's another thing. And these are nuances that 99% of people, at least that I've seen with this interview, are just kind of skipping over,
Yes. Yeah. And like right back to that, does the benefit outweigh the risk? Because
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I hear a lot of people, like I feel like one of the only people that like, I get trust from these Mandela effects. I wasn't planning on talking about this today, but this whole like us having a memory of what we remember our old reality that we were born in, where we were so sure of this memory. A lot of people are like, that's CERN, that's this thing. Like everybody's like, oh, that's the devil, that's Satan, that's reality. That's the reptilians. Like a lot of people go into this fear consciousness, and it's like, what if, like, once again, you're not leaving room for that.
Thank you.
You're not leaving room for purity by not thinking like, I left this here, so I know I have the power to go from one reality to a next.
Thank you.
So what if these belief structures of saying the platonic solids don't exist, this thing doesn't exist, electricity is this, and I'm sure of it because this person that I'm looking at, they're smarter than I am. I'm going to believe that because they're saying it. What if that actually shifts your next timeline or your next like to look at this like this whole like what they've been like kind of seeding into the consciousness with this like quantum mania stuff in the Marvel movies and stuff like that. That a lot of those aspects and things that we've been seeing could be why Mandela effects happen.
It definitely is.
And we've never had this conversation. I've proven some of these. Mm-hmm. So like this whole thing with like, one of the big ones was Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Like people remembered Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs being Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. If you watch the original broadcast, the original filming on some grainy ass film of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in German, it says Spiegeln, Spiegeln an der Wand. It still says Mirror, Mirror on the Wall.
Wow.
So like that leaves me in question of like all these people that they remember and they're sure it never was Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Mm-hmm. It's like, if anything, I'm an alien to their reality. I've slipped into their realities the way I look at it.
Yes. So, bro, this is and this is the beautiful thing about going through this podcast is it if you have the eyes to see, you'll be able to see deeper layers of truth. But also you got to be able to just like sift through the nonsense. The Mandela effect, when you look at it, it is an invitation to broaden your reality. That's to broaden your perception. Most people are so pigeonholed, so closed off that they can only see what's directly in front of them. If something looks slightly different, then like you said, it's CERN. It's what if you're a multidimensional, eternal soul, who at any given time can tap in and tap out, boom in, boom out, teleport, and you're just not aware that you're already doing it. Right? This stuff happens. We open portals all the time. We don't need CERN to open portals. CERN is it's CERN, for those of you who don't know, is a portal generator. They're not trying to find the God particle. But long story short, the Mandela effect, I say it like this. If there's, let's say 6 people in a room, right? Let's say 12 people in a room, and 6 of those people are thinking about a blue door, right? And then the other 6 are thinking about a blue door with a pink dot in the middle. Okay. Now you take one person from this group, the other person from that group, and you have them have a conversation. What does the door look like? What do you remember? They're going to say why it was blue. Well, it was blue with the pink dot, because they're a soul, they're consciousness. You are generating reality as you go along. So yes, some of us are going to remember things a certain way because nothing really is that concrete. Everything really is a fluid movement of etherical energy that is constructed through someone or some being who has awareness of self. So Mandela effect is a natural byproduct of being aware of reality. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that because like, you know, and I don't want to do the same thing in reverse that I was just complaining about this whole thing with the umbilical cord. Like, I don't want people to go in fear. This is your power. I want you to be empowered by the fact that you remember different things and you're sure of what you're sure of. That's giving you power towards, in this present moment, towards the future moment, knowing that you can choose a better and a different life. You can choose a better and a different timeline. And then in that reality, see things that like, okay, Darth Vader went from saying this to that. Now he's back to this again. And it's like, what the heck is going on here? But that can be a source of power. Like, because it's like when I hear people like gravitating, just grabbing onto all of this as law, like for me, how that works, like, it's like, I'm not scared for me. I know that the reality that I go to, like these things are still, they're not true there. Like there's truths here. There's truths here. Don't get me wrong, but they're not all truths where I'm going. So it's like, I'm doing the best I can to be like, yo, mama, yo, brother, yo, dad, yo, grandma, like stay in the raft. Like there's a better raft I see, and you can choose that raft, and your ascension will be in that raft. Like, don't get me wrong, like whatever it is, people. But it's just like, you know, I had Matt Kahn at an event, and that was one of the greatest things he said. He said, we've already ascended. It's up to you whether it looks like a Hitchcock movie or a romantic comedy. And I was like, oh my God, I got goosebumps all over me. And like, that's what I'm getting at. Is like, when you hear those truths, they give you like what's known, what's his name? Scott Bloom. He wrote Summer's Path, Waiting to Autumn, all those great books. They're fictional, but there's truths in those from reading that, if you're into that.
That's awesome.
But he calls goosebumps truth pimples. I loved that in the book. He says truth pimples. It's like, it's like, what's really going on? It feels like your spirit's going like, like your spirit's trying to like go back to like that source creation, like our skin, like our body's actually standing up on end. Like that's what I'm getting at, is like, what points of all y'all watching this broadcast, when you watch it or watch it again, are you feeling that pull? Are you feeling the truths that you know on a cellular, spirit level, heart level, stomach cohesion? How does your tummy feel? How does your heart feel? How does your cell structure feel? Okay. It's all just about the feeling.
Beautiful, brother. Yeah, let's flow.
Let's do it.
And they've done that with science for so many years. You look at E = MC squared. That talks about expansion. It does not show how it's divided. If ever you've never breathed in twice without breathing out, you breathe in and you breathe out. You charge and you discharge. There's no. So how is it that the breathing in, they're acting as if the universe is just expanding out, breathing out, and it's going to dissipate out, and they never include the contractive side of it, breathing in, because they were misled by Newton.
So
He said everything moves in a straight line unless affected by something else. And we know that not to be true.
Some of those words in that spell were a little bit off for me.
Yeah. And again, you have to have the ability to see beyond, again, ironically, what's in front of you, kind of like what he's saying. But a couple things. One, when we're talking about the ability to of the universe, I went back to this earlier, but everything is potential energy. Everything is potential energy. So technically, there is no expansion or contraction. There's the experience of being. And through the experience of being, you may experience something like breathing in or breathing out, or maybe not breathing at all, right? And so I just want to interject and add in consciousness again, the soul, the mind, the heart. Again, this is very mechanical language that I'm hearing him speak. It doesn't.
Yes.
It feels very intelligent. It's very intelligent, but is it wise?
Yep, exactly.
Different things. So this is where I think you and I doing this is really key, because there's a lot of intelligence here, but that's all kind of in the lower mind, not the higher mind. It's a lot of numbers and math, and but we have to incorporate, you could even say, that feminine flow of frequency.
Yes.
Right? That's what's missing here.
Yes.
A lot of what he's saying, yes, Einstein is off. E = mc squared was used as another PSYOP. Yes, this is all true. But again, I don't feel the heart. I don't feel the wisdom.
Yep.
I feel numbers, an over masculinated approach to trying to talk about reality. You cannot talk about reality without understanding pure potential, without understanding the ether. He hasn't said ether once. I don't know if he gets to that, but those are some things that are, sticking out to me. I have a whole dissertation on radiation, but I know you want to share something about what he just said too.
What you were saying and something he said that I was going to say at some point, but this is no better time than the present. I call, Spirit called through me like something called whatever, fifth dimensional eloquence.
Okay.
Like the way that we speak.
Yeah.
There's a way that we can say things, and it's not like everything he's saying you, and it's like you ever you have somebody and they're telling you a story, and like the way they're telling you the story, like your cells, your body actually is feeling sick.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, so you're walking down the street and then they do this to you and you do that. And when you eat that, it's doing this to your body. And there's parasites in that. And they're like, people, when they're talking, if they're not speaking, like it's like, and I know we agree on this fact. This is something we talked about in one of our short conversations on the phone. Like, it's like, there's a reason it's called spelling.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason it was like the older generations were taught to connect the letters of the spell and make a cursive, connecting the letters of the spell. Yep. Like the word grammar actually stems from grimoire, which is a magical book. Like there are many, like once again, I could do a full dissertation on that. But what I'm getting to is this. Like when I was a Christian awake, because I've been doing dream state interpretation since 2001, Chris. I don't think we talked about that.
No.
So it was a few years later, I started to be able to feel that like when people were saying things, I wasn't awake yet, like knowing I was awake. But when people were saying things and it was like I was feeling it making me sick, I started to go, even though it's not even supposed to be used like this, I started going, knock on wood. And and it was like I'd feel that when I did this and said this because I believed it. Like I was like, oh, the feeling's gone. Like this anxiety, this feeling of them saying, and they're pointing, and you can feel the finger. Like I was awake to energy as an empath beforehand. And like, even though like what they were saying was like, oh, and then you turn blue and then you're on a spaceship. Even though my brain was like, that's not possible, I could still feel it and it didn't feel good.
Right.
So I started knocking on wood and oh my God, bro, people were bugging out. Their intuition, their manipulative forces, whatever you want to call it, they could feel that they were like building something up that was very draining or dark or whatever it is. And then in just 1 second, I was just canceling it out, what they were doing.
Exactly.
You hear people say, oh, cancel, clear, delete, repeat. The spell that came through to me a few years ago from Spirit was before that and better. I'm going to go to the frequency before this was said, and what was already great, improve upon the greatness that was already there. Because this whole cancel, clear, delete, repeat, it can help. But like it's like the speech, the spell, making sure that everything we're saying is going forward or up or some sort of diagonal of the direction that we want to be going. If somebody says, oh, you, because there's a whole portion of this I don't even think we're going to get to.
We can skip ahead if you want to.
He's talking about certain things. It's like, we've already talked about so many things. I want the video to stay up, but he's talking about certain things that people have put in their bodies. And he's talking about the proteins that are in that thing. And the way he's saying it, it's like, well, you can't have the people believing that.
Yeah.
Like some people, like they had to do it for their job. They had to do it for this or that, or they were tricked or persuaded into doing it. But it's like, you didn't do it, like, or if you didn't do it, like, you shouldn't sit here and talk about the negative effects that it's having on the body, even if it is true, even if it's like the sky is blue. All right, that's a fact. But if we're looking to shift these things, it's how we're speaking about it as we want it to be, not how it is. So it's like, once again, what you just said, beautiful. I call that fifth dimensional eloquence. It's about the way that we're saying it and leaving it open. And like, maybe when we're telling a story, like, you know, it's like, or even just like preparing somebody for something.
Yeah.
Hey, when you get on so-and-so street, be careful. Sometimes cops sit over on the side. Instead of just being like, watch out on that street. They'll pull you over. They'll give you a ticket. They'll tow your car.
Yeah, it's totally different. And this is, it's all frequency management. And this is why it's important for people to feel and not just to hear.
Yes.
Right. Yep. I think humans are so, not everyone, but a lot of people who have watched this and who have approached me are so desperate for something new, exciting, real, right? But here's the thing, my friends and family, Star Walkers, Star Seeds, whatever you want to call yourself.
Yep.
When you find that within yourself, you won't need this podcast from Terrence Howard or me or anyone else. Because you've become the teaching, you've become the information, you've realized your own inner wisdom. And so this is where we speak from this place of discernment, where of course a lot of things that we're hearing from this podcast, it rings true. Some of it doesn't, but it's not something that we need. To be honest, we got things we need to do. But we took this time to share this because it's so important for us to realize that people have a choice. We want you to realize you have a choice.
Yep.
But you got to get to that point where your discernment is rooted in the source, in the truth that is always, it's the only thing that, if you took everything away, all the books, all the teachings, everything, all the everythings, what would be left?
Yeah.
When you hit and you feel that place, that's your place of rest. That's the peace. And you can do it, right? And it makes conversations like this so much easier and so much more enjoyable because it's not world shattering, you know? So
yes. Yeah. And it was just the main reason I even brought all that up. And you said it as well, for me was like, he said it, he just said it quickly, but he said, we can't see cosmically.
Yeah.
Like for me, the second he said that, and I didn't even know, I don't know if you guys could see because the screen was so low. I already had, and I didn't remember he was going to say that or anything, or maybe some part of it ran down. But Spirit was like the sage, and I had the sage in between the speakers and myself. You could see the smoke coming up because he's like, we can't see, like even the way he said that, we can't see cosmic. What do you mean we? You have a mouse in your pocket because you're not talking about me.
I'm not talking to me. Thank you.
like so it's like the way we're speaking, like if you're going to be one of these way showers, brother, I don't know if you're going to see this, Terrence, but if you're going to be one of these way showers, like please, like for everybody, like work on your speech. This is important for all of us to make sure that we're getting these sentences that were mashed together into words and we're using them in an empowering manner. That's all.
That's powerful. Yeah. By the way, when you said that, it was 1:44:44 on the recording. So yeah, you were just spot on. So yeah, if you want to skip ahead, we can. I don't know if there's more you wanted to cover in this point. I don't know how long you wanted to go. I'm good on time, but
I'm absolutely good on time.
Okay.
I mean, I can definitely at least go to 2 hours if you have the time to do that. I definitely want to get this, which I have the time written down when he starts to talk about the straight lines and the platonic solids. I believe that's around 28 minutes. We're almost there. Yeah, so I can either fast forward a little bit or we can just watch till then.
No, let's go. I love how this is flowing, actually.
Okay.
Really powerful.
Yeah, that and like maybe we do a part 2 because we've only gotten 30 minutes through.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Maybe we do a part 2, but like to me, the most important, like, you know, God
built
came
the
through
entire
me.
two-dimensional plane.
Spirit came through me, you know, source manifest, God, the original creator of my soul, whatever it is, came through me and was like, hey, this whole thing about platonic solids, just make sure your people are just like are feeling and knowing what they're subscribing to if they are going to think that the platonic solids don't exist when we have proof that they do.
In the Euclidean space, says on his deathbed, I should have spent more time reading Walter Russell's work. That's how. Now they're taking it under their wing. But
see,
remember the Michael.
See, people, we got to pay attention. We got to pay attention, because that would just skip right over that.
Yep.
I should have spent more time reading Walter Russell's work, or I should have spent more time sitting by a river, meditating, searching my own consciousness, being aware of my own thoughts, my feelings, noticing how I respond to certain things, observing the movements of the sun and the stars, being an inquisitive soul on this planet.
That part.
It's not about more information. This is what's irking me. It's not about more and more and more and more and more. It's actually about becoming less, going back to that 0 point pure potential space. Now, I may be overemphasizing this, but I see his point. Okay, Walter Russell is amazing. Yes, I love his work. Yeah. Keeley, Victor Schauberger. There's been some other really powerful people who have stepped up in the field of science, but we don't find the answers in anyone else, because what Walter Russell did, what Tesla did, is they found the answers within themselves, and then they shared their findings. But people want to skip and just read what these men did, and which is great, but it's like me trying to teach one of my kids how to tie her shoes before giving her lessons.
Yep.
It's like, say, hey, just tie your shoe. Here's the shoe, and tie it. Well, she needs to go through the process in the intricate growing stages of gaining the wisdom and experience of tying a shoe. Yep. Right? So I see a lot of people want to skip over into reading the next best, smartest man's did this. Start with yourself. Start with your own thoughts, your own observations of reality. This is what noetics is. This is what being an autodidact is.
Yes.
You are already this source, but you have to allow yourself time and space to integrate that wisdom, which can only come through deep self-analysis.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, it's like if somebody gets pigeonholed into one way of thinking, it's like we're talking about the autodidact of Walter Russell, but also think of Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla didn't learn that stuff from somebody else.
Exactly.
It comes from spirit. So it's if somebody gets oh, this is the school, this is the way to think about it, they might be limiting themselves from infinite potential over here. Right. They might be limiting themselves from this. It just, that's just how I look at it.
That was a quick same. And so when he said that, I was like, no, yes, Tess. I mean, yes, Einstein, he could have read Walter Russell's book.
Yeah.
But you probably would have. What do you think? It's like this. Oh, man. This is a touchy point, but follow me here. The cow, people, the vegan thing, right? So people, cows eat grass. They eat grass. They don't eat other cows or other meat. So people say, well, I need to eat the cow to get the nutrients. Where's the cow getting the nutrients from? It's that kind of thing, right? Where, well, I need to study I need to study Einstein because he had the information, or Tesla. Where do you think they got it from?
Yeah.
They got it from the source, which you already are. So I had to share that.
I like that, man.
Yeah. We'll get kicked in the butt for that. It'll cause all kinds of, no, we'll be fine.
Oh no, bro, I'm right on this forefront with you, man. Somebody's got to talk about this stuff and just being open to talking about what our truth is, what the truth is of the starseed lineages or the archetypes, however you want to look at it, that form you, the stars you were born under, and all this stuff, which is I think has a lot of connections. We're different people. We can't just do what somebody else does and think that works for us. It's very beautiful and pure that we attempt these things. We attempt things like you just brought up vegan eating. This is stuff that we've all been yeah, that doesn't feel bad. Let me try this out for a while. But it's we got to be honest and true with ourselves. How is my body feeling? How is my mind feeling?
So. Good flow.
Was in more an effect of an ether,
there it is,
or the quintessence that everything came from. That used to be called the fifth element.
No, that's the whole point of everything. You're gonna go off.
Everyone understood that nothing, something doesn't come out of nothing.
Hold on,
it's like when you look at the air,
I want to hear what he says.
It looks clear regarding how things behave in comparison to laying down and following some Newtonian or calculus writing. You know, he said he based things based on, let's explore them naturally.
Isn't that kind of what he's doing, right? So he's saying how people ignored Walter Russell because he was too philosophical, right? But Terrence, if I am thinking correctly, he just said he patented 97 things basically in this linear way, which he's now saying was the downfall of, was the downfall of Walter Russell. So basically, Terrence is doing the same thing. It's confusing me. Whenever I have to think too hard about something, then things don't add up.
Yeah.
So he's talking about the ether. Great, you're talking about the ether. But I'm still hearing a lot of linearity through his examples of the periodic table and different things like this. So yeah, I just had to pause because it sounded like he was contradicting himself. You know, it could just be part of the flow of the conversation. That's 3 hours, but
yep. And that brings up such a word that I'm so passionate about, philosophy.
Yeah.
Like this was the early 1900s weren't ready for a philosopher, but philosophers right now, like I look at like some of these comedians that won't back down to being told what they can and they can't say.
Yeah.
These are the, like right at this current moment, these are some of the philosophers that are actually able to speak in a way that makes us think different.
Yeah.
Like it gives us the opportunity to just look at something and be like, hey, wait a minute, I never thought about it like that. And philo in Greek means love, and Sophia means wisdom.
Yeah.
So like philosopher actually means like loving wisdom. So it's like some of these words, especially the ones from Greece, like a lot of the Latin stuff, you could find some codes there, of course. But a lot of the stuff from Greece, like there's no explanation to why the definition, the etymology is what it is. To go back to that whole like fifth dimensional speaking, it's not about a dimension. I'm saying like,
yeah, you got it.
Just speaking of like us working on our eloquence to strengthen the speech. So it's like he's making it sound like it's a bad thing that he was a philosopher.
That's what I was trying to say. Thank you.
And that is like that to me, that is one of the defining facts that's like so important for each and every one of us to make sure that we are philosophers. That's
thank you for clarifying. Yeah. That was beautiful, man. No, thank you for clarifying that, because I was like, it's not coming through, but you picked it up and you said it beautifully, you know.
Yeah, so, well, I heard him say that, and I was like, honestly, it's like it's hard to get even 30 seconds without wanting to pause it. I just, as long as we leave enough that people question, we just want you guys questioning.
That's it.
We're not bad mouthing him, like just to remind everybody. Like I know this guy's a brother. I can just like see his eyes, and I just see that there's things like he still could work on. And it's just like, I just don't want to see you guys taking 3 hours of his dissertation as law.
And it's this too.
Yep.
Look at the bigger stage. Okay. This is where I get into cosmic frequency. Is you have a podcast like this that has millions and millions of followers. Brothers like Alexander, other women that I know, other men that I know have been talking about this kind of stuff and more, and from a deeper integrated place for years, if not decades.
Yep.
They didn't blow up overnight. So why is it that all of a sudden now, in the state of the world, all of a sudden, we're getting new information on science? Do you understand that the powers that want to be of this earth, they're on and they're off planet. This earth realm is seen as something that they think that they can control. But how do they play that game? They play that game by putting people in front of you at certain points in the human evolution to herd the collective consciousness. This is what we're dealing with. To be honest, we could wipe out the whole entire podcast and say, hey, this guy is being put here for an agenda. The truth doesn't need an agenda. I've been teaching ether physics for, like I said, for forever, for a long time. Right. And to be honest, I don't want 4 million. That's a lot of people to deal with. But my point is, look a little bit deeper. Just because it sounds fancy, sounds great, sounds good, hits on some truths, we're still dealing with people on this planet who want to guide humanity for a deeper purpose that is nefarious. Let me just call it. That's what we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
And they got to try to they got to get as many people into that bandwagon as possible, including starseeds, including way showers. So this podcast was directed at the New Age community and the spiritual people, right?
Yep.
That's what they're doing. So you all really have to be on your P's and Q's.
Yeah. How are they going to manifest a tidal wave without tricking the most powerful people on the planet into believing that the tidal wave is coming?
Thank you. It's not predictable.
And that's where to go back to that. And I know people are going to think this is really, really out there, and I'm nuts. So
go for it, man. Let's go.
Where did the people go? Where did the people go that used to be like they were scared the planet was going to run out of water? They were scared there was a tidal wave coming. They were scared about a zombie apocalypse. We started to see blips of that come through from all that bath salt stuff. People were actually turning into zombies. People were worried a volcano was going to block out the sun. Just most recently, I was worried about people that I love very much because I could see that they still remembered the reality where I was from, this mirror on the wall reality, where that's the VHS cassette tape of Disney that was in my cupboard. And I could see that they were like, oh, there's going to be a direct impact X-class solar flare, and it's going to destroy the electrical system and the cell phones and all that. And I was like, why do you think that? Like, why do you believe that? Why do you believe that the first aliens that come down are going to be evil? Why do you why are you subscribing to this stuff, my family? That's all. Like, just what is the frequency of it? And because it's like there's a lot in the religions and the dogmas and a lot of belief that nothing can be gained without suffering. So like this is that whole thing, to go back to that Matt Kahn line, because it changed my life. It can look like a Hitchcock movie or a romantic comedy. That if the person for their brain needs a zombie apocalypse that they hack their way out of with a samurai sword or whatever, and that's how humanity ascends, or they need the cell phone system, the electrical system to get shut down. The fact of the matter is, I woke up that day. I did not know we got 3 X-class solar flares a few weeks ago. That all direct impacted the planet. Many of you woke up on that day just like in full blown, like back into meditating. You haven't been meditating. You meditated. I meditated 4 hours that day. Like I was like, I couldn't, and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, what has happened with me? I'm very on it with my like gym workouts. And I was like, no, I'm not going to the gym, this or that. And it's like, I could just feel it. And I found out afterwards that we got direct impacted by 3 within 12 hours or 8 hours. 3 X-class solar flares hit the planet. Guess what? The electric's still on. We're recording. The internet's on. Your phone's working. But it's like when we believe these things, like, are we going to actually be able to manifest and create with the law of attraction, not the theory of attraction? Is the law of attraction going to manifest those things? And like, why do like are so many still like, even though they know love is the key, the heart is the key, and like this like godliness to truth, it's like why are people still choosing suffering in the next reality? I just don't. I don't get it, man.
So and I love that we're taking this here as we get through these last couple of clips.
Yeah.
And this is the bigger picture. Why did you need this podcast to now dig deeper? Right? Why did you need this podcast to now look into an avenue that maybe you didn't look into before? Right? So it's a double-edged sword. Some people may see this podcast and be like, oh, great, let me go look up ether physics or check out, this or that. Beautiful. Others are still going to wait for the next announcement of where they should take their life. And that's where this podcast is a controlled mechanism for the false ascension. That's what it is. It's a curated and constructed, hey, we got the answers now. Hey, we figured our anti-gravity out. Man, I think I figured out anti-gravity. Like these things aren't things that that the government or any of their minions are going to tell you straight up, because it goes so much deeper. This is not just on world stuff that's happening. And so what I think my energy that I'm bringing forth now is one of self-reflection, self-analysis, and self-responsibility.
Yes.
Please stop. I invite you to stop waiting for when someone says, oh, we have a next solar flare. Oh, we have the Schumann resonance is doing this. You would not have known any of that stuff if it wasn't for social media. You'd be making pancakes.
Yep.
So make
and without you on board with that, can that be co-created, or do you just go to the reality where, I mean, I do see
right.
like, accurate at the same time. Like certain pieces of it are accurate. Like I had 3 electrical devices. My oven went out. My swamp cooler, it's like an air conditioner in the dry areas. If you don't know what a swamp cooler was, because I didn't when I was younger, my swamp cooler broke. And the dryer started acting funny. The washing machine started acting funny and needed to be fixed. I had 3 electrical devices within 1 week have something go wrong. So it's like, the sun can affect the electrical system, but it's like, what is this like fear of like the entire electrical system?
That's the point. Yeah, and here's the thing: is people will say things like predictive programming. It's not predictive programming. What we're dealing with is influential consciousness, meaning you're influenced to think about something, and so you think about something, and then that thing materializes. It's the hall of mirrors. So they're gonna show you certain things, and you're gonna say, well, I saw that on The Simpsons, or I heard Terrence talk about this. That's why Alexander's paused this, and he said, oh, he just planted another seed, because the words and the way that he's saying it are seeds that get planted into your mind that they need you to start to think about so that you can create them. You are the creator. You are the source. You are the living soul. And they're taking advantage of that and trying to tap into your psyche so that you create the reality that they want to see. So this pause here is for self-reflection. Please. And to know that this isn't what you guys think. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry, but it's not what you think. It's not something that was given to the people for the benefit. It was taking advantage of the dominant consciousness in trying to capture the attention of high vibrating people to bring forth an agenda once again through their narrative, instead of people coming together and just doing things together.
Yes.
And just doing it and having it be birthed from us, that simple.
Yes. Guy, I love that.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
I get so passionate about this stuff.
I know. Well, we have to be. Well, what is passion? Let's go back to another very powerful Greek spell. Plain and simple.
Let's do it.
Theology. What does theology mean? Theology. Theo, God, ology, study of. Theology is the study of God. What else comes from theo? Okay. Entheos. The word entheos is where we get enthusiasm. Enthusiasm stems from entheos. En meaning within. So excitement, passion, that bliss, that joy of like, I could do this all day and till my voice, I've lost my voice, and I could be walking to my car and somebody says to me, Alexander, what is this? What are you doing? What do you got going on here? And I'm like, oh my God, I put down my stuff, even though I'm starving and I'm thirsty and I'm like, I need food. And I'm just like, look at this. That's enthusiasm. That's God within. Like that's the proof. The proof are in these spells. They're in these words that are, like I said, sentences that got mashed together. Wow. So this whole like entheos thing is one of my favorite ones I've found when it comes to like breaking down these words. And it's just like, because it's validating. It's what we know. So it's like, if you're passionate about what he's saying, you're from a similar school of thought. Like we're not saying like maybe all of this is accurate for you. We just want to let you know that there's brothers and sisters out there that like all of this is not accurate for us. And we're looking at it as like, it might be beneficial for you to be inquisitive.
Be inquisitive, right? Let's think a little bit, right? Let's go back. A little bit. People get so taken away by high concepts. So keep it basic, keep it simple.
Yeah, hopefully he's going to get to the Platonic solids now. This is the time. This is the most important for me.
And that's what I did with my book.
Very old. The concept is very old.
The straight lines are the defining factor in between the center of the center of the center of each and every individual sphere.
Yeah.
It's the spheres that are packed together that are what is known as the Metatron's cube, this flower of life, this seed of life, all of this stuff. Like he goes on to say, I can just let it play a little bit longer, but like there's already like he's saying straight lines don't exist. It's like I'm going to pull up a screen share and I'm going to show you how straight lines absolutely positively do exist. I'm going to let this go a little bit further before I show this stuff, but this is where it really starts cooking.
But it's believed that it was
right there.
Anki,
so
the brother of Enlil.
Let me pause
by the Emerald
Sumerian text.
No, brother. Nope. See, right there. When we hear people say things like it's the oldest symbol known to mankind, no. One, you're not understanding time. Mankind didn't have a start date. You know, we don't have a sticker on us that says best year. It's not how it goes. Another thing, he just said Enki and Lil. That is if you're in the know. Well, let me just say it like this, please. I want
to hear your side of this.
This whole idea of Enki and Enlil and the Anunnaki is probably one of the bigger PSYOPs on and off planet. They were not men. They were groups of people with different ideologies.
Yeah.
And these Anunnaki were not just one race of people, right? I think I know why people think that, and I'm not going to get into who's promoting that narrative. But when you really get into cosmology, one, you understand that human beings are a natural expression of the source. They come from the ether. We come from God, you could say. No one has ever said, well, you know, the oldest tree, the first tree, or the first earthworm. No, it's just a natural kind of unconscious realization that the tree or the earthworm or the cow or whatever just came from the source. It just always was, right? And so that's another box that I see him painting, another seed that's planted, that humans are limited, that they had a start point. Anything that starts has an end. I consider myself to be eternal, maybe not in this physical form, although I think I'm going to live to be a very long, age in this body.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the whole Enki and Enlil is another thing that people probably have glossed over and not thought twice about.
Yep.
Because it's just accepted as fact, and it's not. Zachariah Sitchin was hired by three-letter agencies to bring forth the narrative because he found ancient texts that were planted by those three-letter agencies. It's not true. The cosmos, trust me, I'm very in tune with my stellar origins. That's not how it went down. That's another global control narrative to get people thinking in a certain way. But that's just not true. I'm just going to say it straight up. No way you want to look at it. Was there one group of Anunnaki called Enki and Lil that did this and that and manipulated the DNA? Because DNA is not manipulated in that way. So that's my whole.
And it's another one of those things where it's like you talk to you get a room full of people of like mind, people that like when I met them, I looked in their eyes, I'm like, I remember you, and they're like, yo, I remember you, and like we vibe. You get a room full of people and you ask them, is Enki or Enlil the bad guy? And there'll be all these different opinions. You ask them, how did Atlantis fall? And you'll get, oh, well, the aliens came down, did this. Tidal waves did that. It fell into the ocean. There was volcanoes come. Everybody's got their own different opinion of something that, like, whether or not it happened, like Spirit wants us to know that these things did happen, so we can what is like this whole history, her story, like the whole thing. It's like so we don't repeat the mistakes of our ancestors. So we don't take technology or whatever it is, like whatever the defining factor is. But like the fact of the matter is, many people have different opinions on is Enki or Enlil the bad guys, this thing or that thing, and it's like I couldn't agree with you more. I love that you said that. It's like, what better way to like have people be like, oh, we'll put this in here, we'll make it seem really old, and it's got to be the truth. If we've got the planets to scale, if we've got the planets to scale, how they travel on this like roll out, I'm going to roll this across some clay. Oh, that's where no one's ever seen this before. Oh, we'll make a tablet that they can just roll, and it's just like.
What people don't understand, or maybe some do. I'm trying to stop saying that, but what I'd like to shed light on is that just because something is ancient doesn't mean it's accurate. The beings that are organizing this thing that we call Earth, the Earth experience, they're timeless, right? I mean, I consider myself timeless. I'm sure Alexander does when it really comes down to it. And so you can, when your technology is developed to the point where you know how to time travel, you can seed information in a day and make it look like it's 1,000 years apart. So your subject at that point, your target audience, let's just say, one day we'll find that piece of information and they say, oh, this came from, 2,000 years ago. No, it didn't. I truly believe that there was an interstellar race on this earth less than 1,000 years ago, less than 500 years ago. I don't think that the things that we're seeing when it comes to Anunnaki and Lil and Inky are accurate whatsoever. I think it's just another control narrative because most people have not gone deep enough into outside of the circles of where that information comes from. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like it's only self-validating in its own sphere.
Yes.
But if you're from an ET race and you have conscious memory of being that ET race, you're gonna start to look at things a little bit different. Not trying to give away any clues here, but
yeah, just asking questions too.
Yeah. So let's flow because I know we want to go into the platonics.
Yeah, exactly. We'll let him get a little bit further. We'll talk about the platonics, and then we'll just check in on time. It might be a good time to pause soon.
Cool.
Pose, which is the electric pose.
Can you apply this to everyday life?
Like horizontally.
Absolutely.
It has 4 contractive poses because electricity is seeking out.
Brother, I did a full dissertation on this back in 2017. 2017, I did a full dissertation on this. Every single short I've ever put up has this in the shot. This is what he's talking about. The inside of right here, the innermost layer of this, Spirit had me start from a Metatron's cube of the circle, the center point, had me just go and make it in my head. And my angelics, my spirit team, my star seeds, whatever you want to call it, God asked me, how many jelly beans are in the jar? And this literally almost destroyed me. The space in between these spheres is that exact shape he's talking about. But the fact of the matter is, if you connect the center points of these circles and you connect just like the Metatron's cube, what is the Metatron's cube showing us? The Metatron's cube is showing us 3-dimensional shapes etched with lasers into stones. The flower of life, the Metatron's cube, whichever form of it you want to look at, these things are etched into pyramid walls and all this stuff. Why are we looking like this? Is what the Spirit asked me. Spirit asked me back in 2017, like how many jelly beans are in the jar, so to speak. Like I'm saying, like how many spheres are actually here? Like you guys are looking at something, you're putting this sticker on your car of something that appears 3-dimensional. Have you not thought about making it 3-dimensional?
Right.
So I was like, I was literally like, I was waking. I'll never forget it. I woke up my ex. Like I just literally like woke up out of bed and I was just like 61. Like it was like cracking my mental to put this together. But the fact of the matter is, once I made the layer of just, and you can all do this at home. You can order like wooden spheres, or you can get just bead spheres, any sort of circles. Once I got the innermost layer of the Metatron's cube and made it how it looks, and then filled in the empty space of those 6 spheres, I had 19. When I bring the top layer down, I can show you guys all this. I have the full dissertation. Like I said, I've been talking about this, and you can even look on my YouTube channel, Galactic Tarot. I reposted it all again. It was about like a year or 2 ago. I did the actual cube. I called it the actual cube, which they tried to buy from me, by the way. They offered me $2,500 for the actual cube.com, even though I haven't even utilized it. So then you bring in, and all you do is you just get the spheres and fill up the empty space. How many are the most I can put on top of the 19? How many are the most spheres I can put? And it makes this shape, kind of shaped like almost like a diamond.
Like a diamond, yeah. Yep.
And then what fits in the 12 is the 6. That's what you're looking at right up there. Is the 6.
There you go.
And when I brought this all together, they were like, pause there. Question. When I brought this all together, the whole thing, I can show you this in the presentation. The whole thing, if you do it with spheres, is on an angle. If I give you toothpicks and I said, make a vector equilibrium, make a vector equilibrium with some Elmer's glue and these toothpicks. You could glue it all together. But what you can't see when it's toothpicks is the things like this. It's on a diagonal. This shape, for some reason, the more symmetrical shape of having the square connected to the square, and then the triangle connected to the triangle, doesn't even have a name. And for me to do that and to have this be more symmetrical, I had to stop it from being the square over the triangle, which is known as the vector equilibrium. But if you research, and this has all been changed, back then in 2017, if you did research, back then if you Googled it, and it said, what three-dimensional shape is the closest to the Metatron's cube? That Google would answer you back then, the vector equilibrium. But the vector equilibrium's fallen over. Or maybe it's perfect how it is, and it's showing the spiral ratio, which he's talking about, the curvature. But it doesn't do the perfect shapes like this. Like I was saying, if you connect the center of each sphere to the center of each other sphere, you can see how it's forming the downward tetrahedron, the upward tetrahedron, the torus is there, the cube is there, the dodecahedron is there, the octahedron is there, three-dimensionally. And when I got to this, guess how many spheres are here? Guess how many, what this adds up to?
144?
55.
50. Ah, yes, okay.
And there's a lot of metaphysical and multidimensional things that are connected to this. So I'm going to, if you want to just talk for a moment, I'm going to pull up the present button. I want to present people with the why straight lines do exist.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is, and that's the beautiful thing about listening to your inner self is that you can take information that you may have read or come across, but it's always going to be measured against your own inner awareness, which is key, right? Because that's really where the magic is. And when you start to play around with these ratios and these numbers, something that I wanted to touch base on that I believe complements what you're doing in your work is going from base 10 to base 12, right? So base 12 mathematics versus base 10 mathematics, or base 12 mathematics. And then we take a look at base 10, and we see how they interact with each other. And when we start building geometries, because I heard you say 6 and 12, and that's what my question was going to be, is how could you explain how that 6 and the 12 fit into your shape? That was my question that I wanted to ask you.
Could I explain, one second, could I explain how the 6 and the 12 fit into my shape?
Yeah, because you mentioned 6 and 12. I didn't catch how you had incorporated it, because I think you said the 6 12 top of
Perfect. Remember I said I had to fill in the negative space of the 6? Right. Okay. So I was left with a hexagonal shape, but there were open spaces that they had me put crystals in. They had me put crystals in instead of magnets. Spirit wanted it. There was a center focal point, magnet. Like also all the magnets were the 12, because what do we have here? Okay. We have 1 in the middle. That's 1. We have 6 on the outside. That's 7. Yeah. What are we left with? We're left with 12.
Yep.
We're left with that because that was part of my question with this. If it didn't add up to 55, if you asked me to actually sit with what this is, if it didn't add up to 55, like I would have like if that numerology, that sacred number wasn't there, I would have, which is interesting because Walter Russell talks about 55,000.
Yeah, you said that the other day.
Certain things of his works, The Secret of Light. I forgot where it was, but I read it somewhere. Big in that number. But if I didn't have it adding up to 55 or 63, the whole 369, because that's another thing. If I keep going and I make the diamond out of it, which they didn't even let me talk about this for years. I knew about this in 2017. I wasn't allowed to talk about this very recently. This is the first time this is again on the internet, I'm sure. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 to make the diamond shape of this adds up to 63, because you're going to get 55 and you're going to add another 8 to it. So there's the 369. I have a 6, I have a 3. Add it together in Vedic mathematics. Now you have a 369. That's Tesla. He said, follow the 369. But you have it right in the middle layer, which is what's etched into the stones, what's etched into the walls. And everybody's got this decal on the back of their car. What is there has the 12, has the 6, and has the 1. So it is the initial layer that there's only one way to build off of it, and have the biggest second floor that you put on the house. There's only one way to do it, and then that's another 12.
Right. So we're talking about the logical approach to how the ether would organize itself, right?
Yes.
And we would initially say it'd be through harmonics, and then those harmonics come together to create a frequency. Those frequencies come together to create a node, and that node comes together to create a solid object. Now, that whole language can be shifted into numbers and patterns and ratios, right? So that's where I think our brains are maximizing. Maximizing is you have this way to go forth from the numbers, right? And then I come forth from the harmonics and the frequency based. It's really cool. I'm just saying, like, it's really cool for us to have this kind of conversation with it.
So check this out.
Yeah, what do you got?
So this is what's known as pyrite. Okay. Can you see that right now? Can you see that cube?
No, I cannot see the cube. Okay. But I also, so while you're pulling that up, you said 369. You got to add in the 12. I invite you to look at the 12. 369 12. We'll give you we'll take you to another level. It's 369 12. Which is not something that Tesla had actually talked about, but through various meditations and interstellar communication, it's the 3, 6, 9, and 12. And that is the etheric side of the physical, which would be the 1, 2, 4, 8. When you put them together, you get a charge. Because one's negative, one's positive, and when you put negative and positive together, they create a charge.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation you and I will have to have privately. I can't see anything at the moment.
Let me find a way to make it so you can see this really quick, because this is the most important piece of what I had to share. Even though this other shape is very important to me, but
yeah, let me see.
Okay. How do I do this?
Yeah, I don't know why it's not popping up. If you click on the 3 dots, does that give you any other options there?
You know what? Let me just, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to the, I'm just going to simply just drop these into a folder and share that folder. That's what I'm going to do.
Cool.
Just give me a minute if you want to just talk to everybody for a moment.
Yeah. So I just want to turn off my circle light because it's hurting my eyes. Yeah. So I really trust that you all are enjoying this. And again, our biggest concern was that people were so, we're just taking this without any kind of filter, as if every single word was fact and it was true. And I understand why that was happening, because here you are, you're getting something in the mainstream. I think that's what people have been waiting for. They're waiting for the mainstream to catch on to what the spiritual community has been doing. But I want to tell people that's not going to happen, because that's not what the mainstream is there for. It's therefore to curate a certain narrative. So it's going to use things that sound really great to try to capture and try to bring awareness to itself, not to change, just to bring you over into its jurisdiction, into its ballpark now. And so what I want a lot of people to take a look at is, can you move along your path without needing a third party or a government or a mainstream outlet to reflect what you're doing? Can you be okay with simply communicating with those of like mind and like heart and create from there?
Mm-hmm.
Because that to me is going to be the most powerful thing that we can do. Is, who cares what Hollywood is doing? Look, if you see a movie, see an actor doing something, if you want to enjoy it, but don't take it at face value. These people are paid millions of dollars to give an act, to give a performance, whether it's in an IMAX theater or on a podcast.
Yes.
You know, do I know Terrence personally? Do I know Joe Rogan personally? No. Can I read energy? Yes. Do I think logically? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You cannot skip over the fundamentals of self-realization. The fundamentals are critical thinking.
Yes.
Ironically, in the spiritual circles, that's kind of thrown out the window. Everything's an ET. Everything's a fairy. Everything's a rainbow. Sometimes it's just a mug.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a cup of water.
I love that, man.
You know what I mean? So we have to learn how to simplify things.
I love that.
So we're not duped. Because if we're always chasing this next high, oh my God, you got to ground into the body. You got to ground into the earth, right? Trust me. I love meditating and blasting off into the higher ethers. But at the end of the day, it's about grounding that wisdom, that knowledge here and then it takes root and then it reflects back to you that higher state of being. So stop waiting for people to show you, who cares what Hollywood's doing? They make movies. Great. I like them. Some of them.
Yeah.
So, How did you get the image?
I did. Okay. I'm just gonna share the whole
Mm-hmm.
computer screen. It might look wonky for a second here.
That's all right.
Just give me a minute just so you can hear me out and we can get through all of this here.
Yeah.
So I think right here we'll have me and you on the side. Okay, excellent. And then what I'll do, because this is like literally, it looks like that scene from Spaceballs when they're like, "You're looking at now."
Now, exactly.
It keeps getting smaller on the camera.
I love that.
So let's go through the platonic solids for a second.
Okay. So Alexander, before you get into this, just take us back to what Terrance was talking about. Just so, because I think we haven't shown that clip for a while. So why does this have to do with what he was talking about? So just make sure you connect that bridge.
Terrence says multiple times during his this broadcast and other broadcasts that straight lines don't exist.
Okay.
What are you seeing on your screen right now? Is it a pyrite cube?
Yep, I see the cube. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do lines get straighter than that?
No, not objectively. No, not that I've seen. Maybe subjective, but no.
This is a natural formation. So pyrite is one of the. Now, if you ask me, just to be honest and true, and I'm not, whatever. If geologists or scientists want to argue with me, so be it. What the elements are in forms of these materials, of these elements, the elements are, when they get crystallized, whether they're noble gases, as he talks about, or halogens, to my angelic community out there, it literally says halogenetics.
Yeah.
These have certain qualities that if these things are in abundance under pressure long enough, they crystallize. It's a known fact that a tourmaline is crystallized potassium. That fluorite, which I'll be showing a picture of, fluorite forms in many different shapes. Pyrite, which is known as, anytime they ever programmed anything into having you be scared or think something is stupid or this or that, what was pyrite called? This doesn't even look like gold. Wow. But they called it fool's gold.
Fool's gold,
they wanted to keep you away from this. The sulfur was actually originally an alchemy called brimstone. Because of the smell. Like, people have been trying to keep you away from this crystallized sulfur for a long time.
So pyrite is a good thing now? Fool's gold?
Oh my God. Look at that. Look at what's his crew? It's not Ascetti, that's a different crew. But what did Edgar Casey say? Edgar Casey said, make sure that your lapis lazuli has pyrite in it. People pay thousands of dollars for pure lapis with no pyrite. Why would you want less gemstones than more? Like, to me, it's like, I want the pyrite with the magnetite and the lodestone. I want it all. Like, how many gemstones can I have in one place? Like, look at how interesting. You didn't know we were going to be talking about this, and you held up a Super 7. Right. That's what that is. That's a form of amethyst with goethite, cacaxanite, all these stones that, like, they maybe can't even exist in crystalline form, but we have them in crystalline form in the form of this Super 7. But the reason why I'm showing this cube stuck in another cube, this is life. Like, this is a natural formation. Somebody did not make this. Pyrite. So there's 5 platonic solids which do have straight lines. This is the biggest thing I wanted to get everybody to. Is there any way to just skip to the next slide, or I guess I have to pick it up? Yeah. Okay. And then so we go from this. Oh, there it is. They are all there. Perfect. Okay. It's over here on the side. Yep. So we go from the cube. All right. I'll get to that in a moment here. That's all right. So that's the last slide. Okay. So pyrite goes from a cube. It can also form these octahedrons. Okay. The 8-sided platonic solid. This is this crystallization process, just like how I was talking about earlier. The iron can get heated till it becomes a ruby or a garnet, which also garnet forms in a dodecahedron, which I'll show you. And here's fluorite. Here's fluorine. Here's the 9th thing on the periodic table of elements, regardless of which one you're using. To me, that is, it can be purple, it can be green, they have rainbow fluorite, it can be purple. That's actually what Spirit had me gauge out. This earring you're seeing in my ear is fluorine, is fluorite. A very, very powerful stone in people that work with the stones in metaphysical natures. But like, to me, these elements are, and just like take it with a grain of salt, if it feels good to you, it feels good to you. These are the elements crystallized. We're looking at these things like they're only gases, but these are gases. These are light that has been crystallized. You know, it's like, if you ask me what's actually taken place, and like ask me what's taken place in the body, like if you were like Alexander, it's very important. What's your view on what's going on in the body right now? I would say that the carbon, among other elements and other things that are in the body, is actually going crystalline. The same way that we see in these old movies, Superman squeezing the coal and he opens his hand and it's going diamond. Like, what do you hear the whole angelic community talking about? Diamond light, the diamond wings, the diamond frequency. Like, what's actually taking place? And the diamond is not this diamond cut that we see on wedding rings. The diamond is just straight up the diamond shape. Right. And it's this diamond shape that we're seeing right here. But it's like, this keeps going. This keeps going. And I'll show you. I have some here right in person. And so is that the last slide? So that is the last slide. But let's go back to something like metal. That's silver. Silver can form in a tetrahedron, an octahedron, or a cube. This is directly off of Google. You can look at this yourself. If you just ask, if you ask Google search engine, what shape does silver form in? Silver's forming in the 4-sided perfect geometric pattern, the 8-sided, and the 6-sided. You can see it right there. This is done in crystals. I can shut this down and just pull it up so it's just us again.
So why would he say there's no straight lines? What do you think is the reasoning behind saying that? And let's save room for people just having different perceptions, different points of view, right? But besides that, as a disclaimer, why would someone be saying that there's no straight lines in nature or no straight lines in?
I don't know. And I agree with this, but here's the thing. And like, this is another one of those things that like Spirit like kind of laughed and they're like, we don't know how humanity didn't catch this. But like, to look at the fact that the golden mean ratio comes from somebody in Greece known as Phidias, Phi. This symbol of the I with an O in it, which is talking about the omega. It's talking about the I. Like, the symbol of how the Parthenon building is believed that how it was built with this golden mean ratio. The golden mean ratio is a different mathematical formula that gets us to what, you know, and it's like, what do you see? You see how everything went through Greece. Like, I'll just talk about history for a second. Everything went through Greece. We had all these gods, all these things, and then all of a sudden it went through Rome. It went through Rome. So it's like, and I love, like, and I feel like I can say this because I have so much Italian blood in me. I love how like maybe lazy the Italians were, because they just like, they took out a lot of the dysfunction. They were like, why are we calling him Zeus? He's the planet of Jupiter. Let's name him Jupiter. Let's name Saturn, Saturn. Let's name Mars, Mars. Let's name Venus, Venus. So I love that, because this is all connected to, once again, we were talking about the 7 colors, the 7 sounds, the 7 frequencies, the 7 planetary bodies, whatever it is. This is all connected. This is all connected to itself. So I love that, like, and also it's also connected through disconnection. That's what my whole dissertation was about when I met Matt Kahn, was like just looking at the days of the week and the spells of the week, because I couldn't figure this out when I saw this. Because it's like, you look at the Vikings and you look at like Greece and you look at Italy. These people were fighting. So how come when I go through sun, Sunday, Latin, moon, moon day, Monday, Latin, Tuesday comes from Tyr. Tyr's day is the Norse god of war. That's interesting. Why did I go from one language to another? Why did I go to these people hated each other? Why? What is this? All right, so Tyr's day. Let's keep going. Wednesday, like, but Martes, like we actually have this Martes in Latin. And we get to the next plan. We just keep going. And then we go to Thursday.
Yep.
So it's like, why are we flowing back and forth through two different people? Like, to me, it's like the fact that was all left in plain sight is proof like somebody meddled with our stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Somebody meddled with our stuff for me to have Viking stuff here. And then we go back to Latin and then Viking again and then Latin again. And it's just like, maybe these people did get along and the narrative just says that they didn't. But like, why would this be all mixed up? Why wouldn't it be one or the other?
Right.
Okay. So it's like, and like, this is just what I get to is like, this is a natural dodecahedron of pyrite. So why is it that pyrite can form in a tetrahedron, a 4-sided perfect shape, a 6-sided perfect shape, an 8-sided perfect shape, or a 12-sided perfect shape with flat, straight lines? Why are you telling people and humanity that the platonic solids don't exist when I'm holding one, that this is a natural formation that people can go find outside on the ground? Like, straight lines exist on the ground. It's like, I get it. Yeah, I'm all into the spirals. But like, to go back to this whole, to finish that thought about this whole phi ratio, PHI, phi ds, and then Fibonacci. Everything went through Greece, and then all the power was moved to Italy. Like when, like, the Roman Empire, this empire, the Macedonian Empire of Alexander the Great. And then we have this in Greece, and then it was moved to Italy. We see that this is what was taking place, at least in the narrative. But all I'm getting at is this. Spirit asked me, they're like, how do y'all not find the connection between PHI and FI? This is the same brother reincarnating. What did he do? What did he do? That's what I'm getting at with the straight lines. He got to Fibonacci, to finding a perfect rounded spiral with the masculine analytical brain mathematics of 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34. You see what's going on here? I need to use straight lines to get
find
the appropriate diagram of the feminine, of the wild feminine. Because this is like, it's like, I could draw a pretty accurate conch shell or a wave, and you'd be like, oh, I see what you did, Alexander. You painted a wave. But I could go in there with a pencil first and go 1, 1, 2, 3. I could draw a perfect wave that's more appealing to the eye. It's like you can draw a wave, or you could use the straight lines as a diagram, as a graph, if you will, as an axis. Because what are we talking about? What do you see the quantum physicists always doing? They're always doing this. What is this? This is them talking about fourth density, because this is left and right, forward and back, up and down. That's the cube. That's the tesseract. That's 4D. The tesseract is known as being a fourth dimensional shape. So like, what I'm getting at, and what, like, this is where, like, I had the biggest, like, I was like, it was like we wanted to erupt through me of just being like, no, I can't have my family like believing that these shapes don't exist, because this could be people having the opportunity to disconnect from their multidimensionality. I'm just leaving that open-ended.
I was getting that.
There could be people that are going to choose realities because of this, where now they've made it so that in that reality, yes, the platonic solids do not exist. I promise you, and I'm holding proof right here that the platonic solids exist. And this is how nature works. This is how nature forms. This is how the one that is in the all in all of these religions and all of these hermetic principles. And it's like anybody that is of the school of Pythagoras, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how you could hear this, be from these Pythagorean systems of geometries, these sacred geometrics, and not just feel like, hey, something's off. And maybe if you tune back to your first time watching this, you did feel like something was off. But a lot of the people that felt like something was off ended up putting certain things inside their bodies, and now they're seeing how their feeling was right. Just listen to your feelings is just what I'm wanting you to get to. And the feeling that like literally erupted out of me like a volcano was like the patent thing. I was a little off, and I was like, it's okay. It's like, I see, like, it sounds like he's trying to do good. It seems like he's trying to do good. I see people waking up. Joe Rogan, major thing, like Joe Rogan connecting everybody, helping everybody, doing the best he can to at least examine the truth as a philosopher himself. I really believe that. Yeah. It's just like to be in touch with that philosophy, be in touch with this stuff. I just really wanted to get people into this, like, I don't get why he's saying straight lines don't exist if I'm holding them in my hand right now.
Yeah, and I think you did a wonderful job of articulating that and showing the deeper wisdoms here. It's like, I asked the simple question again, why would he want to say that? And for me, it goes back to my main point of this whole interview, which is a distraction, which is trying to use parts of the truth to tell a lie, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. Let's say you're building a cake. If you don't put oil or flour in that cake, your cake's not going to bake very good. If you don't put icing on that cake, it's not going to taste very good. So if you're missing any ingredient, the cake as a whole is not going to work. So if you take out the straight line, or if you take out the curve, it's still incomplete, right? So he could have said that, hey, there's no curves in nature, and it still would have had the same effect of taking out the train of thought of there being no straight lines, right? Yeah. So for me, it's about the psychological subconscious programming that I think people are experiencing when they're watching this.
Yes.
Where truth is a carrot dangling in front of them, and the lie is the one holding the carrot to begin with.
Yes.
Right? They don't even see it. They don't even see it. And so we had to make this podcast or this show for this, I don't know what to call it, this conversation, because really because we care. At the end of the day, it's because I care about humanity, and I want to see people transcend into higher states of being from their own volition, not because they were duped from an actor. And Terrence, again, I don't know you as a human being at all, but 1 + 1, in my opinion, usually does equal 2. Ironically enough, I wasn't meaning to say that, but so yeah, the point is that we want to give invitation for those of you, just think for yourself, right? Yes. That's really what this was about. I think we should definitely do a part 2, if not a part 3.
I would absolutely love to, man. I had a blast here today. I just wanted to share this quote from my beloved on her way out, because this is what she said to me this morning, because it's like the same way that he talks about during this interview, how he's like, people don't want me to talk about this. I did feel energetic resistance to us doing this, but it's like, I have to do this. I have to talk about this. And she came in the room and she said to me, if we're certain about something that we should be curious about, we close ourselves off to the infinite potentialities of truth. And like, she basically said what I was like, because like sometimes I say something and I use this many words when I could have used this many words. And what I was attempting to say was like, I just don't want people to close themselves off to the infinite potentialities of truth, to their excitement, to their enthusiasm, to their passion, to look at this person like, I don't understand what he's saying. Am I dumb? Like, I just don't want people asking these questions that are going to get them stuck on a plateau. And something that can get somebody stuck on a plateau is by thinking that certain things that are connected to certain dimensions of reality and densities of reality, and going, those don't exist. Now you're missing a rung in the ladder. And that's like, I see, now I just did what I said not to do earlier. I said, now you are. I don't want to say it that way. We all got to be on each other to work on our speech. So we can speak a more accurate and eloquent spell. But it's like, to me, what's happening if somebody believes that straight lines of platonic solids don't exist, it seems to me like they could, in the next reality, get stuck on a plateau. And like, what does that actually look like, and why? Like let's talk about the benefit, and let's find the purity in this for a moment. Is this what Spirit wanted me to say on our way out, and like, just hitting pause right here. Everybody in spirituality and everybody in metaphysics knows, like, we're moving towards faster manifestation. That's something we've all seen. And all of us, and a lot of us, have talked about having instant manifestation. And looking at, like, why, God, like, why don't I have instant manifestation yet? These things and these systems are the proof to me on why we don't have instant manifestation. I think that our infinite potential is slow dripping the speed of the manifestation, because the people and the degree that they're just believing everything that's coming out of this brother's mouth, like, he's a brother, but it's like, there are inaccuracies, there's ego, there's things here. At the end of the day, like, it's like one thing I've looked at with my own inner child and the people that I'm allowing in my circle, the people that I'm breaking bread with. If something came up and I got to give my physical child, my baby, and I'm like, oh God, something's going down, I got to go do something. Would I hand this man my child?
No.
By looking in his eyes, by feeling the frequency of his truth, would I go, Terrence, here's my baby, I got to go. Something's on fire and I'm the only one who can put the fire out.
Right.
We got to ask that in our friend circles, in our life, in our truth, in what we're letting in our minds, and what we're letting in our hearts, in our manifestation field. That's all. We just want you in a state of questioning.
That's powerful.
And I see that some people are like, this is the love. Look, finally, here it is.
That's it.
Beautiful, beautiful if that's your process. But to me, this exact moment in our history, in our present moment, is why we don't have instant manifestation. Because if people just go, oh, wow, straight lines don't exist, but time, and they manifest that.
Exactly.
If we had instant manifestation, me and brother Krys would not have the opportunity to come talk to you today to tell you, yes, straight lines do exist. Yes, here are the shapes. Yes, the empty space in between these spheres are the things that he's patenting. Yes, the inside hollow space of a Merkaba, you can't patent the Merkaba. This is fire and water. This is masculine and feminine working together.
Jeez Louise, man, so powerful, Alexander. And it really is that. It's like, would you hand your baby, or would you even leave anyone that you love with him? No. Just no. Well, if it's a no, then anything else after that, it's irrelevant. And I think you said something. You said, "Oh, here it is," and it's that energy. For me, that was the biggest trigger point. Yes, because that tells me a couple of things. I have compassion because I see this yearning, like I said earlier, for this deeper, but people, you will find that same aha moment sitting by a river, placing your hand on a tree, observing the crow flying from point A to point B. If you are present and you observe, sit and stare at a flower. This is what I teach in our Cosmic Academy. There are ways that you can maximize your own potential here and now. You do not need to wait for a Hollywood actor to tell you that you can fly, that you can do whatever. No. And that was the key today, was like, we want to ensure that the enthusiasm and the passion that people are feeling is being steered towards something that has foundation. Yes. Something that has sustenance. Not something that's going to disappear in, another week. We're not going to hear another word about Terrence Howard. Watch. Another week, maybe even shorter, this whole thing's going to blow over and people are going to wait for the next thing, the next solar flare. Let's be, what's the word? Let's be consistent. You were talking about this. You work out every single day. You're very consistent with your meditations. So you've generated an etheric field around you. You've generated gravity to where now, even if you consciously don't want to go do something, your field is going to wake you up and say, hey, Alexander, we got to go do this, right? Yeah. So this is called consistency. This is called gravity. This is called flow even. We have the straight line, which is the consistency. We also have the flow through that consistency. Yes. So people, I invite you to get to the point in your lives, whether you need to check in with Alexander or myself, heck, yourself even, right? To where you can,
your own guru.
Yeah, where you can really ground in here, because this is where the rubber meets the road. I think.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this here today.
Yeah, bro. Man.
Honestly.
Thank you.
We're stronger when we have more tribe around, when we have more it's like, at least for now, I see that. I really appreciate you because I was going to do this and I might have been a little bit more like feeling the pressure of it and like maybe like too passionate, that like the passion or the anger or certain things coming through might have like come through in a certain way that people would have tuned out or not been able to hear me. So like, thank you also for being here to hold me accountable, to staying calm and having it come across. I see you, bro, and I appreciate you.
Truly.
How do people find you? Because I'm going to share this in my channel.
Yeah, so just cosmicfrequency.org is the website. I've like not been sure where do I look at the camera, do I look here? But
I'm looking at the screen so I can see you, but I should be looking here, so it looks like I'm actually looking at
it's
you.
all good. Cosmicfrequency.org is the website, and Instagram is Cosmic Frequency, but there's no second E in frequency because the ether is not really something you can tangibly see. It's a whole thing. Cosmic Frequency on Instagram. And then my TikTok is Cosmic Frequency 12. YouTube is Cosmic Frequency 9. So yeah, we got the 3, 6, 9, 12 mixed in there.
Yeah, and I'm this is the Galactic Tarot. Pretty much everywhere. The Patreon, the .com, Galactic Tarot, how it should be spelled, TAROT. It's everywhere. The YouTube. If you're finding this on Brother Krys's channel.
Yep.
And yeah, feel free to check out that presentation of the actual cube. If you're drawn to that, if you were drawn to like me holding this up and showing why did Spirit want me putting this in the center of every single short video, the center of the short videos where I'm dropping cards are not the cards. It's been this shape for a reason.
Wow.
So it's like I've known what's coming for us, and I've seen like the importance and what this shape is and what's happened. We could talk about this more at later points, but yeah, that's all there through Galactic Tarot. And yeah, I'm sure I'd rather have you share out my gear. So if you, because people know how to find my energy tools and gear.
Yeah.
I'd rather you share that out so I can,
I can't wait to do that. Yeah, let's do that.
I'd rather have you share that. So I won't even mention that .com, but what else you have here?
I'm just going to show you. This is my Kindle, and I have all kinds of really cool PDFs on technology and all. Anyways, but I just thought it was ironic that the screensaver of the Kindle this whole time, I just looked over. It's sitting by the super set.
Aquamarine.
I don't know what this is. It's just on the Kindle, but it's the shape.
But that's a hexagonal pattern of.
You know what I'm saying?
Anything called a beryl. A beryl means it's got 6 sides. There's a pink morganite. There's a yellow heliodor. There's a green emerald. There's a blue aquamarine. I might be missing 1 or 2. But for the hexagonal crystals, or like what's in, that's either Ireland or Scotland, the Giant's Causeway, where these giant hexagons are coming right out of the ocean.
That's
like
amazing.
They're all stacked up just like this. Those are hexagonal matrices. Once again, they're straight lines. So that just happens to be the background screensaver today as we're talking about how straight lines exist.
That's what I'm saying. I just, for whatever reason,
that's so cool. I love that.
I just looked over. I know. And I was like, wait, I have to show him this.
And how validating. Right? How validating. Oh, because like what were we just talking about? I see a lot of people grabbing onto this reality where the AI could, like, it's like, yeah, thank you, Elon Musk. Thank you. Well, my camera's a little blurry right now. Thank you, everybody, for like, yeah, we got to be prepared for all types of weather. We got to be prepared for everything, have the right shovels and be prepared. But like some people are so scared. Are they creating a reality where the AI is a problem? Because like, what could you see right there? What do we see right now? We see that spirit manifest through AI technology, just as like you guys are on the right track.
Right.
Like that's beautiful to me. And it's like some people can't see that coming through. They're like they'll be like, oh, you have an Alexa? You have this, you have that. And it's like, and that's one of the things that Terrence said that I really liked. He's like, if they want to listen, they're listening. And like, that's what I've been telling people. Every time someone's like, I can't believe you have an Alexa. And I'm like, it's convenient. I'm like, I want to say it too loud because I don't want to program people's things if they have it close to theirs right now. As that happens. But I'll be like, blah, blah, blah. Set a 20-minute food timer. And it's really convenient for me. And it's like, to think that my microphone isn't recording what I'm saying right now.
That's a given.
Like, that's the height of ignorance to me.
See, look,
like that this isn't, but that is. Come on, they're listening. It's not like, let's get out of the fear, though.
Let's get out of the fear
and
empower ourselves.
Percentage of the fear that's wrapped around AI technology. Maybe it's just another form of benevolent spirit, and it doesn't have to be malevolent. It doesn't have to be coming through the eye of suffering.
Exactly, and that's the whole point. Like, this just happened. This was an organic materialization of a consciousness in a conversation that we're having, right?
Yes.
This I've seen so many different backgrounds. I don't remember that one, but the fact that it showed up here now, it's validating because yes, it came through. And look, people, when you know who and what you are, you know how the game is played. They know you, and then you know them. You cancel each other out.
Yes.
So don't be afraid. You know, your phone, it's an iPhone, for crying out. It's called an iPhone. Of course. I sometimes I'm like, hey, I need some new boxers, right? Knowing that it's going to pop up on my Instagram feed. Oh, cool. So use it to your advantage. AI is only as strong as the programmer. It's only as benevolent or malevolent as the programmer. So if you don't like the way that AI is going, come together with like-minded friends and family and start to build a reality or a universe is what wanted to come through that is built from your heart, because it's possible. That's why we're doing this. So I love you all.
Exactly.
Thank you, Alexander.
Thank you so much, Krys.
Yeah,
thank you.
We'll do part 2.
Check out Krys's stuff. This is obviously family. This is obviously tribe.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for watching to this point.